Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To some of you and peace to the rest of you. Blackheart, sign of Black in again. Asking you to hit that share button. You know why I'm asking you to hit it. I don't want to go into it too long because I got to get straight to the message. But the message is more important than the messenger. Wow, that only took me less than 20 seconds. Okay, I'm getting better at this. I'm going to start by saying Edward Anderson's been right about something else. I'm going to extend what he said, though. Now, he pointed out fathers with daughters and no sons. And that's not completely under a father's control. But what I'm going to say is that what he was worried about from them is a valid concern from them and also other fathers who may have sons. Fathers who are influenced by feminism. That's really what we have to watch out for, because they will turn and spoil their daughters or nieces or granddaughters or baby sisters. It's pretty much men who are willing to not only spoil, which is normal, but also lie to the women in their families whom they love when they're little girls, and raise the girls in their families with expectations of a man that are financially unrealistic. That's the issue there. We have to watch out for any of these men. It doesn't matter if they only have daughters. It doesn't matter if they only have sons, but got a niece or something. We must watch out for these men. It's good to see that a woman has a good relationship with her dad. It's also good to see that that dad is blunt and does not lie, because every man knows the limits of other men. And it's good for him to say, well, okay, I have X, Y, and Z, and I'm lucky, I'm fortunate. That doesn't mean that every man your age is going to have that. They need to tell the women the truth about men's limits. Because a lot of these men now have women judging a man's manhood by his financial luck. Black men are in a precarious position with this, because that leaves black men's manhood to be determined by white employers in America and in the West in general, and by black women validating them. Well, that means that black manhood it's a miracle it exists at all. That's what that means. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it. A lot of you old niggas made that mistake, and I'm saying this as an old man myself. I sat up and watched a lot of these black fathers who love their daughters, give their daughters unrealistic expectations, cementing what they already saw in the Disney princess movies and then the Nickelodeon teen movies, and then later on in the soap operas, cementing these women's fantastic notions of what to expect in men and from men. I'm telling my daughters, I've already started to tell them, when you look for husbands, number one, he needs to be black. He ain't got to be black American, but he needs to be black. Why is that? It's not because I hate other races of men. It's because I can't trust them. The individual man from another race that may love you still can't necessarily defend you from every family member that's mad because you bringing some melanin into the family. Even if you ain't that dark, you're going to face it. You could, because you got black blood and they find out about it. It's no guarantee. The other thing, too, is that, of course, he has to be Muslim because that's encoded in the religion. But the other thing, too, I have to tell them is he's probably not going to actually have a lot of money now. It's good if you can avoid a man. It's good if you can avoid poverty. That may take both of you, though. You don't have to do it. You don't have to chip in financially if you don't want to as a Muslim woman, but you do have to live off of his means. You have to live within his means. You got to do it. And if he ain't got much, he just ain't got much. Either you're going to live within his means and it may not be much, or you just don't get married. And if you don't get married, you're going to have to make sure that you don't fall into some other indecent act. I've had to tell my daughters this bluntly to prep them so that they don't have a fantastic notion of marriage, especially to black men of good character, good moral character, because that means that the chances of a middle-class lifestyle have already drastically reduced, because that's how it's set up. Studies have proven that. But you old niggas, man. Sitting up here not only spoiling your daughters and giving them fantastic notions of what to expect from men, you sit up here telling other black men that if they can't satisfy these fantastic notions, then they ain't men. Like there's no job discrimination against heterosexual black men in the West. You also, a lot of you old niggas, I realize you know more about women's nature than you let on. Sometimes you don't know, some of you do, but those of you who do did not bother to come out and tell us what the hell they were actually like, because deep down you suspected that you might not even be the natural fathers of the children you were raising. And instead of confronting that, at least in yourself, and at least telling the sons of this real possibility, you niggas sat up here and promoted just tolerating and dealing with it, or just ignoring that possibility. Instead of telling you, you knew, a lot of you knew that the better a person a boy was, the more likely he was to be tricked into raising somebody else's kids, or just guilted into it, raising some other man's kids, and you didn't say nothing about it. You knew and never said to a lot of these young dudes, including your own sons, look, if you let these women do this, they will get pregnant by no good niggas who got time to do nothing but work on a stroke all day, and then turn around and ask you or trick you or guilt you into footing the bill for them babies. You let them do it, this is exactly what they'll do, because in their mind, you ain't genetically good enough to have the babies, but you got the green to feed the babies. But he's genetically good enough to have the babies, but he ain't got the green to feed them. So she don't think nothing of taking your green to feed them babies, his babies, by hook or by the crook. You ain't told these brothers that, man. Now, I don't usually have to go in on men as much, because I can do it in person, and there ain't a whole lot to go in on men for, because when it comes to the genders, we're the ones confused by women. Women ain't confused by men. A lot of things they don't know about men, but by the time women face confusion from men, it's only because they're getting less attention and less devotion from men as they get older. That's the only time, and that's because they see a change. We men, we're the ones starting off our lives confused by women. And some of you old niggas knew what the game was, and you never told us that's what these women will do if they can get away with it. Because you suspected that maybe your wife did that. And then maybe that boy ain't even your boy to begin with. You suspected this from jump. And I'm going to tell you straight up, you old niggas, I'm saying this as an old man myself, we have no reason to forgive you for this. You sat up here and joined the feminists and questioning black men's manhood for not having shit that white folks won't give us in the first damn place, and that they robbed from us. And you never sided. A lot of you never went and said, hold up now. Sapphire, you siding with the white man in this business. No, we don't need that. I'm going to say this too, though. A year ago, about a year and a few months ago, I would have straight up said, look, you know what, brothers, you can't be messing with these Maylings and Marias and Habibas and all that. I would have said that. Now I just say you can't be messing with, you can't mess with Priya, meaning the Indian women. You can't mess with Habiba. You can't mess with them because they can't appreciate you. But there's a black Maria, that's where you need to look. And there's some Habibas in Southeast Asia, and that's where you need to look. And they got a whole bunch of Nandis in the motherland, and that's where you need to look too. Now I got to say this, but what else do I have to say? Now I got to sit up here and tell brothers, you need to leave Sapphire alone. They got problems, they got issues. They're great friends, but they're terrible wives and lovers. Because of their expectations, you need to lead them, they need to be by themselves. What's that gonna mean for us? You just gotta build with somebody else, bro. I mean, they got black women in other countries. That's really what I'd recommend for us first. If you're the type that black women don't want anywhere, then I guess you gotta go to Southeast Asia. Now you got some brothers sitting there talking about, well, if you ain't popping in the U.S., you ain't popping anywhere. Sometimes it's true, but a lot of times it's not. No, a lot of times it's not. I'm sorry. I've seen it myself. In the United States, I'm exactly what a black woman wants, but would never want to be seen out in public with. Light-skinned brother used to have straight hair. In the U.S., they look I have to see reflections to find out they were even looking at me. I had to go out with someone to find out I was even being looked at. When I was by myself, they'd look away. I didn't even know I had their attention. I go abroad, and they're not even hiding it that much. All of a sudden, I'm more valuable. And I'm talking even to foreign black women. Later on, I married one. So I got to tell brothers, look, man, Sapphire wants to sit back while she's 350 pounds and she's 5'2". She still wants to sit back and have you approach her, but you got to be 6'3" and 160 pounds, or no, 6'3", 180 pounds and all of it muscle. And you got to have a 12-inch ding-a-ling and a 6-figure bank account. That's what's going on with Sapphire. Great friend, but when it comes to what you got to offer her, no, it's got to be a complete mismatch for you to be with her. But unfortunately, nobody wants to tell you that. And even these old brothers want to act like, man, you look at all that pussy you turning down. Yeah, all the 350 pounds of it on a 5'2" frame. Yeah, look at all that I'm turning down. You know, that's these old dudes, man, they act like, I used to think, man, maybe they knew something about these women. Man, these old dudes knew plenty and wouldn't tell us. So I got to say it, man. Edward Anderson was right about a lot of this. It's the first time somebody younger, over a decade younger than me, successfully called out in front of me men who are older than me. And I objectively could look at this and find it to be as true in the culture as he said it was. I even remember old men in my family saying to me, hey, yo, Blackheart, your dad said you getting ready to go to college. That's right. Yeah, man, you stay away from these men that, when you over there, you're going to see some guys that don't really chase women that much. They don't seem that interested. Stay away from them. I said, well, I'm naturally going to stay away from men that are interested in other men because I'm from the South and we're conservative like that. And I'm not with the gay stuff. And, you know, I'm too black for that. But what about the ones that women aren't interested in? They just leave women alone because women ain't interested. What about those? Well, see, they should be trying twice as hard instead of just sitting back. I was like, no, bro. See, that's what we got to, no. And he said, trust me, young blood. You know, old niggas. I found out I was right and this nigga was wrong. That's what I found out. Not only that, I found out that a phenomena of black women being uninterested in men that they actually found to be attractive physically or visually speaking, but still being uninterested in them for other reasons was more real than I thought. When I got to college, I found out that no, actually, most black women in America, especially if they're attractive at all, just like the least bit attractive to look at, don't want a man that doesn't fit negative stereotypes. White folks' negative stereotypes of what black men should be. That's what I found. So I had to stop and I had to say, I'm done with this. It took me years to get to that point, but this was an old man in my own family that said this crazy stuff. If a black man finds that black women ain't interested in him, he should be trying twice as hard. Are you effing kidding me? So I just, later on, years later, he was still alive. I told him, I would have naturally avoided the men that were interested in other men anyway. But because these guys were taught that they should try twice as hard, they did. And all that did was mess it up for everybody. Mess it up for the guys in the short run, mess it up for the women in the long run. And partially, that's part of the reason I'm going to be single right now for a long time to come. Old man. You can't be blaming other people for what your own outcomes. No, in this case I can. Because they all followed your advice. They got the same advice from some other old nigga. What does that tell you, young blood? We know we talking about. Yeah, a lot of times you did. This is one of them cases where y'all didn't. The one thing it seems like you old men still don't understand is women, and most of you confess that you don't fully understand them. But now I've come to understand because they've shown us certain things, and we're comparing notes. Well, how are you niggas comparing notes? Y'all ain't taking those studies. We don't have to anymore. We got the internet. People can put up a website, and somebody miles away, if they can read that same language, can learn this. And this is before social media. We had this conversation. It's just regular websites that people could put up. They talk about what they want to. I was like, oh boy. And you could do a search term and find these pages. And I straight said, look, go in the internet search engine and type in women don't like nice guys. Well, what if I typed in women do like nice guys? What I'm going to find in? I told him you're going to find that women don't like nice guys because I've done both searches. They're going to take a look. I didn't see him after that. But the fact was that I got to college and found that other niggas were following the same advice from you old niggas. And you old niggas were honest about one thing, you didn't understand women, but now I'm coming to understand that what you did understand, you didn't tell young cats. Not a lot of times. I was lucky that my dad told me what he knew. I was fortunate in that regard. He still apologized for not telling me more. He said there were things I didn't know, son. There were some things I didn't find out until you were in college. I was like, I got it. And I tell you this, Pop, one of the things my dad told me was don't no woman gets pregnant unless she wants to. I said, I don't know how true it is, but I'm going to look and see. And I found out that, yep, actually, yeah, too many ways to avoid it. The only way I would look and say the woman got pregnant when she didn't want to is if she was pinned down and raped and even in as a morning after pill. And the other way I would say that she might get pregnant when she doesn't want to is if she's ignorant of a method of birth control that would have worked best for her. And that's very unlikely. Very unlikely. So you old niggas failed. And I'm not saying that all of you did it intentionally, but you old niggas got to stop giving this dumb advice. You need to know more about what young cats are facing before you start talking about how they failed. That's the real. This is one time I'm going to have to say and look you old niggas in the face and tell, well, not that I'm showing my face, but this one time I got to look in your direction and say, actually, the young cats were right about us screwing up. Mostly about y'all screwing up. Because even though I'm an old man, I'm younger than most of you that were giving this advice. I was the last generation that received this advice. The first generation that received this advice directly from you old niggas. And all the ones younger than me came afterwards. I was the first generation that had to listen to you old niggas talking about you need to simp. You need to be persistent. You need to chase them. You need to buy them flowers when they don't seem interested because they got to play hard to get. You niggas told us that, and yeah, they got to play hard to get. But guess what? You niggas didn't tell us. They don't play hard to get when you're rich and famous. They don't play hard to get when they see other women chasing you down. They don't play hard to get under certain very shallow circumstances, but they exist. These exceptions exist. Why the hell should you be chasing them down if that's the case? You didn't tell us that. There was a level of deep depth in the thinking that you were not willing to engage in, and therefore you couldn't tell us. Y'all screwed up. So in this message, I'm not going in on the women as much. I could, but I'm not. This one time I got to look at you old cats. I could say the same thing about older women, but that's not something that they changed at any point. We are the generation that figured out a lot of things about women they didn't want us to figure out. We're the generation that figured out a lot of things about women that your own mothers didn't want you to know, and you're their sons. The hell does that tell you? So step aside, old man. This might be one time for you to start futting the shuck up and listening before you start giving a verdict and giving advice about this particular subject. Because our manhood does not depend on what white folks are willing to pay us in forms of salaries or fees. And our manhood can't afford to depend on what a broken group of women are willing to validate. I don't like the ideas of manhood that these young cats have. I really don't. I just want you to understand that they can't afford to hold on to yours, because if yours was so good, how come it didn't work for them? Not everything you old niggas do is right, and you know that. Most of you would admit it. The problem is that once you come to whatever it is that's not right, that's when you say, I ain't gonna go as far as enough to say that that's wrong. Well, then, nigga, you just can't help younger generations improve where you wucked up. Got plenty of wisdom to offer about many things. I'm not sure that women is one of them, or at least the black Western woman is one of them. Brothers are just going to have to step out. I don't want to say it, but brothers are going to have to step away from the Western black woman. The Western white woman, we already know. A lot of you don't agree with brothers dating white women. I'm with you on that. I don't. I think it's dangerous. But brothers in the West are going to have to step away from the Western black women. UK brothers are going to have to leave alone Sapphire in the UK. Canadian brothers need to leave alone the black Canadian women. American brothers need to leave alone the black American women. We got to now. It's not because of hatred. It's because, you know what, it's something we can't deal with. There's no right answer. It's a test question that you have to get right in order to pass the test, but there's no right answer. You got a multiple choice test question. And all the answers are wrong, but you got to pick the right one. So it's already rigged for you to lose. Take your balls and go home, like literally. And you old cats, I say this, if you survive, if you outlive the women you're with, try the Southeast Asian woman next time and get back to me and tell me what she's like. Hope that what I'm saying is a benefit. Blackheart, signing blackout. Assalamu alaikum.